everyone, I'm Caroline and welcome to my home on the hillside here in Wales, and today I'm going to make something that's going to be perfect for your country spring decoration. Very farmhouse, and I just love the idea, but will it work out in practice? So let's have a look what I'm going to use. I've got myself some ribbons, so I'll show you. This is a gorgeous ribbon. It's very vintage, shabby farmhouse. I love that. I've got this lace here. And I've got this self-adhesive lace. Now, I love this lace. It was out of stock for a while and it was awful because I used so much of it. But I don't know if I'm going to use it on this project, but I'll keep it close by just in case. I'll put that over in my lace and ribbon stack. I've got some watered down chalk paint here. This is a mixture of chalk paint and acrylic cream paint. So I've only got white chalk paint, so I thought, right, I'll add some acrylic cream. It usually works to add a different colour just to chalk paint, and it still sticks very nicely. I got myself some twine. Can't beat a bit of twine. Got a jar. I picked this up mudlarking. If any of you are wondering what on earth is mudlarking, then I have another channel with my husband called Let's Go with the Johnsons. We do a lot of mudlarking and we find this sort of thing, which is perfect for vintage looking or country looking or farmhouse looking craft. I've got a paintbrush. I've got some clear tacky glue and some Gorilla Wood glue. Put those to the side. I've got a few flowers. I've got this self-adhesive burlap tape, which I don't think I'm going to use, but I do love it, so I'm keeping it handy just in case. I've got a wire cutters, and I've got this plank of driftwood, and I love this. Now, I've sanded this down. Let's show you my sander. They had this as a gift from Anne and Jason from Texas. So thank you very much, Anne and Jason. I've already used it, but it's a bit messy to use actually in my studio, so I use that outside and do the work beforehand. So that's all been done. It's got a neat little dust bag as well. I've got this, and I was wondering what to do with this, but I think I've come up with an idea. And I've got this. Now, this was 50p with a Christmas decoration in. It's completely the wrong colour. That's not going to go with anything. So this needs to be painted. Now, I've been chatting with my son, he's got his own business. He makes stickers and things and does a lot of Comic-Cons, and he's got a cutting machine. And he said, oh, if you want to, you can get some of the stick on vinyl and use my cutting machine as long as I'm not using it. So I thought, ooh, let's have a go. So I never used it before, and I didn't know if the vinyl would stick to this. So I've already put a little bunny on the bottom, and it does stick. The only thing is I put this on and I'm not keen on the glossy look. I think I'll go for a matte finish next time. And also, if you look very carefully, this has got some extra lines where I went a little bit wrong when I was cutting it out. But I thought, oh, it'll be fine down there. And if it did look too bad, I could always take it back off. But I think he looks fine. Now, one of the problems with this is it's a bit loose in there because it's a bit of driftwood. It's got battered and bumped about in the sea. So I'm going to put a little bit of wood glue in there just to hold this which way up I want it. I want the flatter side on the top. There. So I'll put the glue in from here, and it doesn't matter if there's a little bit that shows then. Now, wood glue does take a while to hold. But I'm going to push this back into position there now. And this is going to be glued in place soon anyway, so we won't have to worry. So I'll just clean most of the wood glue that doesn't need to be there off there. And it's going to be on the bottom, so I'm not too worried. Now, this wood, I love the look on this wood, but I just fancy putting on like a whitewash. Now, I've got my watered down chalk paint here. So I'm going to get my brush, and I've got my wet cloth, which is now covered in wood glue as well. Of all the days to run out of wet wipes. And let's have a look what this is going to look like if I put a whitewash on here and then wipe it off. Oh yes, I think that is going to be absolutely gorgeous. We'll get that all done, and then we can let that dry while we work on something else. So it's just a matter of brush it on. Should we get it into the grooves? If you want it in the grooves. If you don't want it in the grooves, don't. It's completely up to you what you want the finish to look like. I'm not sure if you could do this just with chalk paint and then wipe it off. But one, that's a terrible waste of chalk paint. And two, it's going to be much harder to wipe off. Because this It's so watery. It comes off very easily. Pop some in there. This looks like a limed wood. I think this is just part of an old palette. I don't think it's any fancy wood. But it just looks so lovely because it's been washed in the sea. All the sap's been washed out of it. It's lovely and light. And now it's been sanded as well. That up there. And now I can go around the bunny. There's the sanding and the whitewash really going to bring out the look of this wood. So we finished that side. What we need to do now is the sides, the edges, I suppose you'd call them. Now, I didn't sand these very well. I just gave them a quick rub over. I suppose I should have taken a little bit more care doing these, but I didn't. So it's too late now. I'm not going back out to sand because it is absolutely pouring down outside. We do have a lot of rain in Wales. As we say, it's either raining, or it has just rained, or it's about to rain. And at the moment it is raining. Cats and dogs. We've stained that. Now I'm going to stain this little piece of... It's going to be a shelf. So I'll do a quick run over with some paint. And then wipe it off. You know the routine. While that's drying, I'm going to put it down. And I'm going to get my red pot, which is completely unsuitable for this project. Perfect for a Christmas project. But that's not what this project is all about. So I'm going to use this cream paint. Now, I'm very dubious that I'll get this done in one coat. But you never know, it could happen. Because this is quite a difficult thing to paint. It's all lumps and bumps and ridges and dips. So I'll get back to you when I've finished. As suspected, 2 coats were definitely needed, but are more than enough. So now we just leave that to dry while we carry on with the next stage. So now we need to attach our shelf, and I'm not sure of the best method for doing this. I was going to use some Gorilla Wood glue and my glue gun, but I'm wondering whether to add some of this Gorilla Glue super glue as well. I think that'll really make sure it stays in place. So we're going to be gluing along here, and I want to put them in order of how long they take to dry. Now, the longest thing to dry is going to be the wood glue. There, there, and there. You can see there's still some movement where the middle bit isn't firmly attached. Then I'm going to put a little bit of this super glue from Gorilla Glue. Use the brush end, I think that'll be easier. I'm trying not to stick myself to the bottle. A little bit there, a little bit there. And a tiny bit there. You don't need much of that at all. And then out with the glue gun. And then gluing it just above the rabbit ears, about there. Like that. Let's have a look, see if it looks level. It's levelish. I'm happy with that. That's one thing if you're doing a rustic farmhousey type thing. It doesn't matter if it's not quite level. Do your best, but don't panic too much. Wipe along there. And that now can dry away while I turn this over this way. Well, I'm going to try and get access to this so the camera can see what I'm doing. Right, so I've got this here, which is a little sign saying fresh flowers. Now, that's one of the problems with this vinyl, adhesive vinyl. If you're working with white, you can't see what you're doing. I need to run the bone folder over that because it's not stuck an awful lot. I find with these narrow letters, they're a little bit more difficult to get to stick than the bunny was. Bunny was very easy. So now I'm going to stick the word fresh flowers. I'm wondering whether to put it at a jaunty angle. You know me and my jaunty angles. Or whether to put it straight. Oops. I think I'm going to put it straight today. So about there. And it's going to be a little bit difficult to stick to the knots there. So I can put it right at the top. On the other hand, I could have the flowers taller then, couldn't I? I think it feels better to have it lower. Right, after a bit of deliberation, I think the best place to put it there. I was tempted by that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to turn it that way. And make sure it's quite central. And then stick it down. I'm using my bone folder. Apparently you can use a credit card. But the bone folder is quite useful because this isn't quite as level as it could be. Well, it's very unlevel. It's not the ideal for these stickers at all. But I think it looks pretty, so I'm going to persevere. You can make life a lot easier for yourself if you use completely flat wood. So as if by magic, that stuck down really quickly. It didn't. Don't get upset if you're struggling with this sort of thing. If you're putting it on uneven wood, it's going to be extremely difficult. Right, so if we now move that there, we've got our little shelf. Can you see that? There. And that's a bit wonky on the bottom, but it's straight on the top, I hope. So the next thing to do is to tackle the jar. Now the jar is actually supporting this, which is drying. So I'll put that in place of the jar and bring the jar out. There are a few things I want to do to brighten up this jar. And the first thing is I've made this, which says honesty jar. And I'm going to stick that on there. So I thought that would be a nice touch. So let's work on getting that on the jar. Now, the observant among you will notice that Y is dreadful. I had a terrible time trying to get it off. My son said to me, "Why on earth are you picking such thin letters for your first ever attempt?" I didn't think it'd be a problem, but obviously it is. So I'm trying to pull that off now and straighten it up. It seems to be turned completely upside down. I don't know what I've done. Right, so there's my honesty jar. So that is ready now for people to put their money in when they buy some fresh flowers. So that's going to be sitting on there, but it's still not pretty enough. I think we need to do something to that. So I'm just going to get a little bit of twine. I'm going to glue it to the jar just at the top here. I do love twine on glass jars. I think it looks so pretty. There we go, one honesty jar. Now I do have this ribbon here and I'm tempted to put a little bow on there. What we could do is make a little bow. Now this is just a 2-loop bow that you tie in a knot, make 1 loop, 2 loops. Now this one takes a little bit of fiddling, but it always makes sure that your tails stick the right way off your bow. So tie those 2 loops in a bow and it'll sort of twist and jiggle itself around. And then keep fiddling, you pull it and tighten it until you've got the size and the tightness that you want. Get your scissors to get a nice little edge on it, fold the bow in half and cut downwards to the edge from the centre fold, downwards to the edge, like that. You've got yourself a little bottom of a bow like that. So again on this side, from the centre fold down to the edge, and there you have a very pretty little bow. I'm still not sure though, because it covers a lot of the words. On the other hand, it is pretty. We'll leave that there while we think about it. So now I've diluted some acrylic paint. I've got a very, very dry brush. As dry as you can get it really, without it having no paint on it. And then I'm going to go in line with the way the basket was woven. Now you may find, what's that hair doing there? Put a hair in my paint. Got it. You may find you can find a proper basket weave, little basket like this, and then you won't need to do this stage. You can just leave it as a basket. But if you've got something like this that's plastic or metal, any sort of faux basket weave, then a little bit of dry brushing like that really brings out the look of the weaving, I suppose, and the wood. And I just love that, and I think it's definitely worth it. And it uses such a tiny amount of paint. I always overestimate and make gallons of it, and you really don't need that much. So I'm pretty pleased with that. So now if we take our sign, this honesty jar is going to sit on this shelf here, which I'm still not going to trust with the weight of it at the moment. And you can't see it if I tip it up anyway. So I'm going to want to be able to get some money in there. So this jar I think will be okay at that height, and then that much gap so you can get some money in, and then the person can take the jar off and take their earnings out. So we'll glue that in there, move our little jar out of the way. Now we want this pretty central, so what I'm going to do, get a pencil and draw a line underneath there so I can see roughly where I want it to go. Right, and now out with the glue gun. I'm going to put loads of glue on, probably more than I need, because I don't want this falling off because it's been glued onto wood. But no matter how much you're putting on, you've got to always concentrate on how fast you're going, because this stuff dries so quickly, and then you end up with a layer of dry glue and your item won't stick anyway. So there we go, that's on there. Put that on there like that. Now I've got some ribbon here that I'm thinking of putting around the top underneath the fresh flowers. That was my thoughts, and then I could make a bow to go on that. But if I make a bow, I think some flowers that I've got here are going to get in the way possibly. So I'll just put one piece of ribbon underneath the fresh flowers and then decide then what we're going to do with the rest. Nice wudge of hot glue there. Stick a ribbon on. Then some glue there, and then realise it's a little bit wonky, but that's the beauty with hot glue. Until it cools, you have got a little bit of movement. Now I thought I could put a little bit of lace on the middle of that too, and I've got this lace here, but I cut a piece off. I do love adding lace on top of ribbon. Now if I put that on top, you're not seeing a lot of the spots. So what I'm going to do, you can see this is in 3 sections. I'm just going to cut one of the sections off. Oh, there goes the door. My son is ordering a takeaway tonight. He's going to make us all jealous. I bet it'll smell wonderful. Ah, that's better. Right, so over with my sign again. Hot glue there. Glue that in place there. Bring it around. And glue it in place there. Then snip the excess off. That needs to come up a little bit again because the hot glue is still a little bit warm. I can move it up and make sure it's central. I'm really liking this. I think it is gorgeous already. Now we want to put some flowers in here, and I've got to decide, oh, everything's got hot glue spaghetti on it, the length I want these flowers to be. Now that I think is too long. So if I take off, if I'd like them that length, I probably need to take the length off to about there. Right, I'm going to slide up these leaves so that they are, now that one looks like it's just come off that one. I'm going to slide the leaves up so you will see them, because it's pointless wasting them down in the basket, and it'll just make the flowers look a little bit fuller if I move them up a little bit. And then pop them in here. Oh yes. That is so pretty. And I'm loving the lilac with the lilac ribbon. Now that one's a little bit long, isn't it? So I'll put that one over the back there. You wouldn't believe I measured these, would you? Oh, look at that. Absolutely beautiful. I'm tempted to put that bow now on there. Oh, I think I will. A blob of glue. On it goes. Easy as that. Right, let's check out this shelf and see how it's doing. It's pretty firm. I'm going to run some hot glue underneath just to be doubly sure. Right, so all we've got left now is this jar. And we need to do something with this jar. We need another bow. Should we put another purple bow on? I think that'll look quite nice, actually. Yep, let's make another one of those bows. I do have a different colour here, but I think that's going to spoil it. These are all in whites and lavenders and greens, so yep, I think it's going to be another one of these. I want to put a bow there now too. I could put a bow on the rabbit's neck. Oh, that's cute. Oh, should we put it on the rabbit's neck? I think we'll do that. Let's put it on the bunny's neck. that is going to look really sweet on the bunny. It's going to look quite nice there. It's going to look quite nice there. Ooh. Decisions. I'm going for the bunny. What would you do if you were making this? Would you put the bow on the bunny, on the jar, or on the shelf? Or on all three? Right, so if I've got nothing on there, I think let's have a look, see what it would look like if we put, well, I got this little bit of lace here that I cut off. So we could try a lace bow. No, I don't like all those bows in a row. No, I don't think so. At the top, we're going to need to put something to hang this on. Now, the ideal would be to have a drill and make a hole in each side and fix something with a drill. But I can't go outside to drill. I don't know if you can hear, but there are monsoon conditions tonight, so that's not going to happen. So what I'll do when I display this, I'm just going to use it as a stand-up display, which you could use. It's absolutely nothing wrong with using it as a stand-up display. I actually think I'm going to keep it as a stand-up display rather than have it hanging up. But if you want to, just drill yourself 2 holes in the top, add a hanging loop, and it's done. So let's see what this looks like up on display with the honesty jar on it. Rundown of the price of this item. It cost me probably about £1 or 2 in plastic for the words. Ribbon, 10p at the most. These flowers were bought at a charity shop, so there's probably about £1 worth of flowers there. 50p for this, but I still have the Christmas tree that was stuck in the top, so I'm still doing okay there. This plank of wood was just found on a beach. This jar was found while out mudlarking. And the ribbon, I bought that years ago, so that probably cost me about 20p for the amount I've used at the very most. And then, of course, it's glue, a little bit of paint, things like that. So this has actually got quite a gorgeous look for very little cost. If you've enjoyed this video, then please give me a thumbs up, and it would be great if you could subscribe, and that way then you can come along with me and see all the things I make from things I find at charity shops, thrift stores. I also go to pound shops and sometimes normal stores like Hobbycraft or Hobby Lobby. I think they're the same sort of thing. But generally I like to reuse things and upcycle them, and that's for me the biggest part of the fun. I'll see you all next time, but until then, don't forget, have fun. Bye.